Hi, everybody. This is day 1000. Was forcibly removed from his barracks room on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. And Fort Bliss has been indicted today. Or can they be indicted? Well, implicated, exposed, pointed out, confirmed to be engaged in criminal trafficking. And it's been, today. Well, it's no longer Richard's birthday. We've been honoring Richard all day today. Thank you so much for everybody's um, sending messages today. It was really emotional, to be honest with you. It was really emotional. And I don't know if it's the right time to get that emotional. We're not allowed to cry, right? We're not allowed to cry. We're not allowed. We have to stay very, very focused. So just checking to see if I'm on. So I am. Um, so I can see comments, and we are burning the midnight oil. I wish I could get on earlier, but it just can't be helped. It's just been very, very busy. And today is no exception. Every day is breaking news, and we have breaking news. And we have so much that we have to review all the time because of what is going on in Washington, D.C., what is going on with President Trump, what is he doing? Because he is just masterful, right? He is just, I call him the magnificent. I call him President Trump the magnificent. And anybody, even if you don't like him, if you can't admit that if you can't admit that he's magnificent, then you haven't been paying attention. You just have not been paying attention. You're not in reality. You're just not in reality. You don't have to like him to realize that he's magnificent. He's just a very amazing, amazing man. And we are just very, very grateful to him for everything that he is doing. And he is very, very aware of Richard's case, very aware. And you know them by their fruit, right? You know them by their fruit. He has done absolutely amazing, amazing things. This uh, letting us audit our military. That's what that parade was about. And, you know, I know I go back to that parade because when have we had one like that where the American people that pay for everything, right? Pay for all those uniforms, I mean, we didn't pay for the parade because President Trump knew that he would get um, um, an earful or a backlash or whatever. He paid for it, which is, I'll be forever grateful for him to allow us, the American people, to audit our military to see, well, really the Army, right? Because it was the Army, the 250th anniversary of our Army, our United States Army. And to see them together, to get a good look, right? And to know that they're being looked at. There's no better way to inspire to do a good job than to be audited, to to have a good look at our Army. And that was just really an amazing thing for him to allow us to do that. He's so transparent, right? He's so transparent unless he wants to uh, do a military operation, um, and then that was a magnificent bombing, even though um, I'm not for war. I'm not for war. I just feel like there's so many warmongers because they make so much money. They make so much money off of the war, without having to send their sons and daughters to the war. Um, and then they have evil agendas like to destroy things. The war, the narratives always are really, I think, phooey. are really lies, right? And it's been going on since, gosh, my generation, and also being military, being part of Desert Shield and Desert Storm, and knowing how bad we were lied to over and over again, and we were so patriotic. I mean, the flags were waving everywhere, and we were being lied to. We gave them everything, all of our support, and they lied to us during Desert Shield and Desert Storm. And they, the whole reason for going in, and then just the carpet bombing of Baghdad. Would sleep on the couch for oh my gosh, I can't. I want to say months. I want to say months. Because Rob was there. He was deployed there in Saudi Arabia, and it was and Iraq, and just scared to death, scared to death. At that time, it was just a different place in the United States. For everyone that's a little bit younger, it's just a little, we weren't really used to war like it is right now. It's like war is everywhere, right? War is everywhere. It was a very, very big deal, Desert Shield and Desert Storm. It was a very big deal. We weren't callous to it. We seem to be very callous to the war and bombing and everything now. And we weren't so then, and we were so patriotic. Um, and that's why there was, this dip in patriotism, because we had been so lied to that, we had a hard time supporting not our family, but, the United States. Just the attack on our patriotism was very, very plain to see. And because we knew it was an attack on our patriotism, that people had infiltrated, treasonous people, traitors had infiltrated our institutions, and were badly using our military, lying, and taking advantage of our patriotism, and also the grand theft larceny of paying all these years, these decades, for what they did to us, and what they did to Iraq, what they did to so many countries, right? So many countries, because these elitists make so much money off of war, and they became very, very wealthy, and they absolutely had to take control of the narrative. And in order to take control of the narrative, they got control of our media, really total control. You see, huge. I mean, it's overwhelming, right? The amount of control they have, the mockingbird media, we call them, right? The fake news media, we call them. And they really have been exposed now. And thank God for social media. And of course, um, during those Biden years, people got deleted, totally deleted, silenced in their social media. And then whistleblowers like Richard were silenced. Their lives were taken away from them. And so this has definitely been going on for a long time. And I think Desert Shield, I know, World War II was a big part of it. Um, and going forward, because I was born at White Sands. But people don't understand that, because a lot of the aftermath narrative of World War II began at White Sands, began with the missile, began with the nuclear bomb, all of that narrative, um, the NASA narrative, the um, just the post World War II narrative, really epicenter is White Sands Missile Range. And I was one of the very few babies ever born there, but ever born on the range. not at William Beaumont, but on the range. And it's just God's hand on all of this because things that I knew as growing up and being in El Paso, of course, on Fort Bliss and going to school there, and even going to school at MacArthur Elementary, and going through middle school there, which were tough years, very tough years, especially because, was one of like, I think out of 800 students, maybe three blondes at Bassett. They were tough years. I had to hold my own and that's why I got into karate. That's why I got into swimming. I was in good shape and wonderful family, absolutely wonderful family, and um, loved El Paso, loved being there. But I knew the German influence there, the German military there, the Air Force there. My parents belonged to the German American Club. I understood the how important ADA, the air defense artillery, was to the future. And of course, now going into the drones, putting together what's going on with the drones and how the areas that President Trump just bombed in Iran. Well, one big area, Estevan, is a big drone maker, right? The kamikaze drones that were being sold to Russia to attack Ukraine. Um, so this is, there's so much to this. I mean, that's just what we can find out by searching articles and the internet and press releases from our government and from other countries and everything. Um, uh, so, this is really, there's much more going on than what they're telling us. But we do know this, that the pressure, because of the control of the fake news media, right? The those that want war, that have this control over the media. It's an amazing uh, pressure, right? It is an amazing power, and but I think, well, I know it's being exposed. It is being absolutely exposed. And even as it drifts, that power drifts, the keyboard warriors, right, into social media, like FitFam El Paso. It's the biggest, 700,000 members. And now they've been shut down. Meta shut them down for community violations. And of course, we know who was, uh, even though Bob Morris, excuse me, Bob Morris trying to still let them be anonymous, just like the Mayellas. He wanted the Mayellas to be anonymous. The Mayella family that was in the federal courthouse, that was in the DA's office, that was in the FBI, that was in Walmart cybersecurity, that was in mental health care, that's in the Texas Tech University. Science Center. That Mayella family, that is the family of Patrick Crusius, of the Walmart mass shooting massacre, of the Walmart massacre that took millions and millions of dollars of taxpayer money for the fraudulent defense of Patrick Crusius with this fraudulent application for assistance, right? Appointed counsel. He's so poor, zero income, zero expenditures. Yet his family is, pretty well to do, and pretty well connected. And the whole that's why we didn't get the death penalty, because there was never a trial date set. There was never a trial because they didn't want any of this to come out. Bob Moore wanted to cover this up, just like he wants to cover up the owners of FitFam El Paso. And uh, I have to laugh because the people behind it, Jules took it on Chan, the Chan brothers, um, and it's just strange that Meta is owned by oh, what is his name? Zuckerberg, and his wife's last name is Chan, right? Chan, and then the Chan brothers, and it's just strange. And then they have that Hawaii connection. They have all these connections, and they have the same name. And it's just a strange thing, right? But Meta today canceled FitFam El Paso on Instagram for violating community standards. But really, what it was exposing them for the crimes, for being a psyop, for because Jules took it on Chan. If you have not kept up with this, Jules took it on Chan. He's not just a nobody. He's like this Nadal Baim. He's absolutely connected to the group of Dallas Hart. He's connected to Fort Bliss. He's connected to the Walmart mass shooting, he massacre. He's connected to the emergency intake center, where these children, 10,000 at a time, were trafficked. And on the very same day that Meta shuts down FitFam El Paso and absolutely exposes them for being up to no good, for being absolutely up to no good. Um, you have JFK Jr. announcing that, implicating, indicting Fort Bliss for child trafficking, right? I mean, that's what he did today. When you watch the video, he is saying that these children, right? This emergency intake center, which Jules Chicken Champ played an important role in, right? He played an important role. You could go back, look up in the Facebook. I posted it all. I posted it all. Um, and I'll repost it tomorrow. But this has been a wild day because this is connected. This is absolutely connected. When you have someone like JFK Jr. over health, and you have Jules Tuganon Chan that was managed health and safety for Fort Bliss, right? Who, I mean, that was his job, right? It was all about um, uh, health and safety, quote unquote, and overseeing um, uh, huge aspects of the emergency intake center, and also of emergency responses to Walmart mass shooting, and him admitting on his LinkedIn, which he took down, but we got it all, we saved it all. But he admitted on LinkedIn that he played a huge role in going there to the Walmart, where the FBI did not even secure the scene for over 2 days, right? The FBI didn't even secure the scene, the crime scene of the Walmart massacre, for over 2 days. And Chan was there as the initial response, right? Um, and here he is, the totally connected to FitFam El Paso. And him and his brother, right? The Chan brothers. And they, were in news articles and that as, anonymous, anonymous, anonymous. But we figured out who they were. And that's why we got their LinkedIn before they took it down, and got all their connections. And they're connected, and they even targeted us. And all through that, we found out that they are absolutely connected from the very beginning. They've been watching this case and connected to Bob Moore and the Dallas Hart. Dallas Hart is the prime suspect in taking our son's life, right? In taking our son's life. He is the prime suspect. And Jules Tuganon Chan is in his group, associated with him. And so, associated with those associated with him. So this this is no accident. All of these things coming together. And what did JFK say today? He said children were being taken to a parking lot filled with shipping containers. Okay. Uh, Under the Biden administration, children were being trafficked to parking lots where there's shipping containers, strip clubs. Well, I know Leilani Hart was getting her mail at a strip club that was right beside a parking lot with shipping containers. Okay. And I know that Leilani Hart on July 22nd, 2020, confessed in an affidavit that we have to the worst type of crimes against children and in possession of films of the worst type of crimes against children. So you have RFK Jr. saying children were taken to strip club and shipping containers, being trafficked to houses, 40 at a time, right? And you have Leilani Hart, the mother of, and she's a prime suspect, but the mother of the prime suspect of taking our son's life, Dallas Hart, who is associating with Jules Chan of FitFam El Paso. FitFam El Paso is shut down. RFK is exposing this on the same day. And Leilani Hart was getting her mail at a strip club that is right beside a parking lot full of shipping containers. And the military calls them tactical move storage units. Now, this has been, there's so much more to it, but I just wanted to lay that out a little bit to get everyone thinking about what's going on, because this is Fort Bliss. Is Leilani Hart associated with Fort Bliss? Does she have access to Fort Bliss? She had her family member that she was very intimate with, former CID agent Tavita Nusa, in the Fort Bliss CID office, that's Criminal Investigative Division office, right? They were exposed in a whistleblower complaint by Judge Roger Rodriguez, the former coordinator for anti-terrorism and homeland security programs on Fort Bliss. He exposed them for tampering with Richard's files because they had access because of this former CID. Why is he former? Because his badge was terminated in 2021. Tavita Nusa, the CID agent that was the connection with Leilani Hart, family member, and more, is her connection, but she also has her husband's connection. Now they're since divorced, connection with William Beaumont, or the Fort Bliss VA, access to healthcare files through IDS Pablo. This, and then for, like, let's say they want to do their cover up. Who's going to cover up? Oh, I wasn't here, this and that, give alibis and stuff like that. Well, you have Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3, who is absolutely over any kind of location of any kind of soldier, what's going on. He can give alibis to all of these. And does he have some part of this? Yes, because his father-in-law is Nadal Baim, married to Isis Chavira, who now, in a very quick divorce, just this year was divorced in a 60-day divorce, which is very quick because Western Frontier Trading LLC um, is suing them, is suing the couple, and they have property. They were in real estate business, right? And he's the one that is the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado, but also part of this group, Dallas Hart, James Courtney Hart, Leilani Hart, Jules Chan, this group, up to no good. And he's the one that said the FBI, that he was FBI, right? He asserted the power of the FBI to give himself authority. It's like, when you're wearing a uniform, they all want to wear a uniform and put on their stars and stripes and all of that to to steal our institution's authority. It is so treasonous. It is such an abuse of our beautiful country. And they get in there and they misuse it for very evil things, which JFK, JFK Jr. is exposing today. It was jaw dropping. And he's been talking about it, right? He's been talking about it. But, this is like to a strip club and shipping container parking lot. It's like, what? That is, okay, wow. And where was the intake center, right? Where were these children? It was at Fort Bliss. It was at Fort Bliss, y'all. On the taxpayer dime. Who paid for the tents? You should see it. It has 10,000 beds. Who paid for these tents? Who paid for the beds? Who paid for the blankets? Who paid for the meals? Who paid for the health care? Who paid for all of this? For all of these tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of children. I mean, it's to 300,000 children, and some report even more. And it's now being reported that most are no longer alive. And it was on Fort Bliss, and who gave them protection? Well, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. He gave them protection. Who gave them protection? FBI George Torres, FBI Jesus Nieto Jr., right? Jesus Eddie Jr., who gave them protection? Well, the intelligence agency, EPIC. EPIC is part of FitFam El Paso. Who gave them protection? Jules Chan. To traffic these children to a strip club, to a parking lot with shipping containers. And who was reporting on all of this? Richard. Richard was reporting on the criminal trafficking. Who did they target? Richard. Who was the co-conspirator? Bob Moore. Bob Moore has an incredible connection to A&R Auto Group that was used to target Richard. Target him. And when you see what they did to him, then you understand. And that auto group is connected to Manuel Chavira, Manny Chavira, the chief of police of the El Paso ISD. And who's in this group? For months, harassing us, threatening us, going online, threatening us for years, okay? But for those months, we were getting it like, every day, like personal, really personal, every day to our hotline number. And now, but it's been going on for years. It's members of the El Paso ISD. It's members of Fort Bliss. It's members of FitFam El Paso. And then they do this psyop with Danae Katz and Ambrose and her husband Jonathan Caleb Ambrose. And Jonathan Caleb is part of Fort Bliss, part of 143 ADA, part of the VA, right? He was West Point. He's not a dummy. And they make him out in FitFam El Paso like he's just like some common street thief con artist with Danae Katzen, who targeted our son, who was in possession of our son's credit cards and financial information after he was no longer alive. This is that group. And now FitFam El Paso with 700,000 members has been shut down. They want to try to start it up again. They're fighting for it. They're fighting it. Of course they are. They don't give up easy. Look at what they're doing with Trump. You got President Trump absolutely trying to be the peacemaker, right? To be the peacemaker. Say, okay, you're afraid of nuclear arms, but we have these spots that we know are making drones that is involved in the Russian-Ukraine war. So we'll, kill two birds with one stone. We'll get that because we don't want this Russian-Ukraine war anymore either, because that's grand theft larceny. Billions of dollars. Even today at NATO, we've had to watch all this stuff. Ukraine, Zelensky is begging for billions of dollars. That needs to end. That absolutely needs to end. So, if you cut off their fuel, if you cut off their weapons, maybe they'll just can use sticks and stones, right? Yeah. It's just it hopefully and praying that it will end that conflict also. And of course, seeing early this morning, President Trump out saying they don't know what the heck they're doing. And he was much more forceful with that, um, showing his frustration and, the fake news media, uh, egging on more and more war, that they're never satisfied. It's like give a mouse a cookie and they want a glass of milk. Oh, we just want, the nuclear bomb or the nuclear weapons program obliterated. Okay, obliterated. Oh, but we want regime change. Oh, well, we want it's give a mouse a cookie. That's what's going on here. And they're trying to pigeonhole, they're trying to uh, surround President Trump to really get underneath his suit and become, to make him their puppet. That's what they're trying to do. That's what, we were surrounded at the beginning in Richard's case, and there were several individuals that wanted to get underneath us to move us and make us do what they wanted us to do. And we saw that very clearly. And it was a false narrative. It was a false reality. It was the blue pill. Well, we live in the red pill. And we want to count. We knew something stinky happened to Richard. Look at, this proves it. Now, it seems so long ago, late last night or early this morning. I was working on, because we're getting all this feedback back about Richard being awarded the Purple Heart. And because of all of the information coming out, he is, seems like he meets all of the conditions all of the um, all of the arguments, all of the requirements to be awarded the Purple Heart. And so I was going to talk about that today, especially, or, because here we've been focusing on his birthday, but we have just been, I cannot tell you how much information is coming in of the institution just ramping it up to get accountability for Richard. And this news for Richard, absolutely justice for Richard, which will lead to getting his remains. That's what we're asking for. We want our son's remains, and we want those who did this to Richard to be held accountable. And so, because this case involves over 15 agencies and institutions and people in high places, even billionaires that control El Paso. This is one. Um, it's a miracle after a miracle. The exposure of FitFam is another miracle. We've worked very hard for that. Miracles. God says, "Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door shall be opened unto you." Faith without works is dead. You have to put the work into it. You have to put the courage into it. You have to identify the crimes, document the crimes, file the crimes, file them again, file them again, file them again. And God makes the miracles. And today, JFK Jr., thank you very, very much. President Trump and his administration, thank you very much. I know people are really focused on this Iran thing right now, but there's so much going on. And I think that war is always used as a diversion. They're panicking. That's why they're acting like they're panicking. They have no reason to panic over Iran. Okay? They have no reason to panic over it. And they are panicking and panicking right now because they're panicking because of the exposure of what JFK Jr. said, because of what Richard reported, because of what is happening at Fort Bliss in El Paso, with the narrative has the fake narrative, the false narrative has been exposed, and people are getting it. They're putting the dots together, and they absolutely realize that Richard is a hero, that Richard deserves the Purple Heart. I mean, that blows us away. This is what's coming back to us. Richard deserves the Purple Heart. Richard is the hero. Richard is the Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier that exposed this cartel-linked criminal syndicate that was absolutely a cancer in our agencies and institutions, that were creating a great big sucking sound of, like Perot said, sucking sound of grand theft, larceny, and the worst type of crimes against children, including the gun smuggling and equipment smuggling. It's grand theft larceny and the worst type of crimes against children, which absolutely hurts every one of us because of the damage it did on our economy. So every one of us has been a victim to this. If you're paying these enormous property taxes, if if you're having a hard time getting a job, a legitimate job, if you have found yourself in situations where people are wanting to groom you into the worst type of lifestyle, then you understand. If you have family members that were full of vim and vigor and have now since lost their lives because of substance abuses or substance poisoning, all of the things that we've been through. I mean, and so instead of acting as victims, we have to um, we have to demand justice. We have to demand accountability. We have to demand change, uh, as far as far as restoring our institutions, our oversight, and absolutely holding these criminals to the highest account. I mean, the death penalty has to be on the table, and we have to restore our judicial system. And I think with the arrest yesterday, um, and of course, we can't, we do that with our vote, right? We do that with our vote. We have to be so careful with our vote, so well informed with our vote, and we have to really vet whoever does vote, because with the FBI coming out saying that um, that the CCP, a foreign country, that's an act of war to work with the FBI. I don't want to. I want to say dirty FBI agents to create license. Driver's license, so that illegals can have a say so in what's going on in the in our system. Our system is the judicial system. It is what gives us accountability and oversight and everything. And so we have to be very, very careful who has that power uh to cast a vote. So and I think it's, we've just lived the high life so long in the United States, that the last couple decades you know, um, we just didn't see it coming, this Trojan horse. And now we have in Congress those that mean us harm, and the media, those that mean us harm, those in the agencies like Manny Chavira. Manny Chavira wasn't even, he's cartel connected, absolutely, with Willie Moya, right? And Arturo Alba. And he is the chief of police of the El Paso ISD, making loads of money. And he didn't even have a peace officer's license. He just participated as EOC for the Walmart massacre. That's what he did. And, all of a sudden, without a peace officer's license, he can become the chief of police of the ISD. I mean, you know, and then not even, okay, now I'll go to the police academy now. No, you can't. You have no experience. Just because you're a firefighter doesn't mean that you can be chief of police. Those are two different jobs, two different skill sets. Just because you oversaw a safe and secure school program, or you together at MacArthur did some kind of unification EOC, even though your family's LLC, R&H of your auto group, which is connected to Richard's car, is right across the street from the Walmart, which absolutely confirms to us that uh, you targeted our son with Bob Moore of El Paso Matters for being a whistleblower. Well, why would you target our son for being a whistleblower if he's whistleblowing this criminal trafficking and you're connected to the cartel? And then we have the FBI not lying about investigating this whole mess with Manny Chavira. And who was that? George Toros. And who is he married to? Melissa Mendez. Is it Melissa Melendez, or Melissa Mendez? No, it's Melissa Mendez. And who is she? She's a doctor for Texas Tech University Health Services who is working together with Alexis Mayella. Now the circle comes back together. Who did not. So you have an FBI agent that absolutely knows that Patrick Crucius's family is a Mayella family. And Patrick Crucius, without even a date for a trial, without even a trial, is getting plea dealed with having severe autism and severe other mental health conditions without even getting a competency hearing, is getting plea dealed for, 90 life sentences for randomly choosing El Paso. Randomly choosing El Paso. This is a defective plea deal because it has this hate crime that he just randomly did it, hate crime legal component to it. And you got this FBI that knows it. And we have also a lead official over the Walmart case saying that the crime scene was staged. What? But then you have the other FBI former agent that was part of the Walmart response team saying, yes, FBI didn't even secure the crime scene for over 2 days. That corroborates that it was staged, that it was tampered with. Evidence could have been removed, could have been put there. Why does Jaime Esparza have to walk the crime scene and film it? Why are these films that were the pictures and the filming of it, of all of this walking the crime scene without it being secured? Were they all put into the evidence? Well, we don't know. There's no trial date. There was not even a trial. There was just plea deal. But millions and millions of dollars for his defense of taxpayers' money that went into the pocket of Joe Spencer, Joe Open Checkbook Spencer, because he wasn't going to get on the case unless he told Guadarrama and Medrano, I'm not getting on the case unless I have an open checkbook. I'm not going to nickel and dime it for this and that, right? He wanted an open checkbook. When did he tell them that? We don't know. You need to be the judge. Look at the timeline. He got the approval just hours after the massacre happened. How did that happen? And Judge Medrano wasn't even on the case yet. So when the hell did he tell Medrano that he would only get on the case if he had an open checkbook? I mean, ask yourself that. And Saturday afternoon, the incident happened, everything goes crazy, there's no secured crime scene, and yet Sunday morning hours, not even a day after, Sunday morning at 5:42 a.m., they already approved the open checkbook for Joe Spencer, and on Monday morning, before the crime scene is even secured, he's in the jailhouse talking with Patrick Crucius, and Patrick Crucius hasn't even been vetted for competency yet. He hasn't been vetted for competency. He and his application, zero income, zero 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 zero. There's not one number on there, just Pat C. Zero income, zero expenditures. What a scam! What a scam! What a crime! And all these people fit together in this same group, in this same criminal group, and of course, um, and more information is coming in. We know that those involved in the Walmart case are those that targeted Richard. The prime suspect is Dallas Hart. And yeah, the motives are all over the place. There's tons of them, tons of motives to silence a whistleblower, a witness. And they, let me tell you, when they targeted Richard, they targeted him um, and they forcibly took him. They tortured him. They took his life, and they were disrespectful for to his remains. So, of course, we want accountability. We want these people named. We want the truth to come out, and that we're getting information coming in saying, I think that Richard Halliday is eligible for the Purple Heart. Then there's a lot of other things going on behind the scenes. And then you see RFK Jr. coming out today. You see Meta um, take free. I would say Meta just freed 700,000 people from the mind control of FitFam. And there's more about FitFam because, and I don't think people will understand it totally, um, because it's such an intelligence. Um, when you start talking about it, you risk sounding conspiratorial, um, because they conspire together, this group. And of course they have to, because they have to cover up the major crimes that they have committed. So of course they have to collude and scheme and conspire together. So we'll get more into that. But thank you so much, everybody, for your continued support and all the messages that we got today. It was it, it was just an overwhelming day, overwhelming and overwhelmingly emotional, and we're not allowed to be emotional quite yet. Not quite yet. Um, we have to stay very, very focused. And we have to absolutely be as much as a support to President Trump as we can be. Because what he is doing with his team, with his administration, is miraculous. Because he works so hard. And that just shows you that he has great faith. Faith and works creates miracles. God is just, um, it's it's just, it's breathtaking, and it makes you speechless, and you fall on your knees and you just want to thank God so much for taking away these evil people's powers. And they're just, that's why they're gnashing their teeth. They're gnashing their teeth. They're pounding their chest. They're ripping their clothes. It's something to see and experience. And we're just privy to a lot of information. And 700,000 followers, and they're gonna try, they want to try to get it back. But yeah, we'll see. God has this in his hands, and we're going to continue to work and support President Trump for peace. We need, blessed are the peacemakers, right? Blessed are the peacemakers. Um, Blessed are the meek. And yeah, so thank you so much. God bless you. And thank you for all the kind words that were sent today. We'll talk to you tomorrow.